Welcome to Candidate Conversations for the March 5 Rio Rancho municipal elections. For this series, the Rio Rancho Observer has invited all city council candidates in for an interview to discuss why they're running and thoughts on city issues. Additionally, we have invited representatives from the city in to discuss 3 bond issues that are on the ballot. Today we have Paul Wymer, incumbent candidate for City Council District 4. Can you take a few moments to introduce yourself, your background, and why you're running for re-election?
Yes, so my name's Paul Wymer. I've lived in Rio Rancho for almost 35 years now, and I'm the current incumbent in District 4 for City Council. Been in the position now for almost 4 years and hope to become re-elected and hold the seat for another 4 years. I've got, I'm a father of 2 grown kids, and I've got 5 grandchildren. My wife was a school teacher for Rio Rancho Public Schools and retired not too long ago. So that's a little bit about me and my background. I am currently working out at the Sandoval Regional Medical Center, UNM Sandoval Regional Medical Center, in the facilities department. And I've got a background in architecture and planning, construction-related management. And so that's a little bit about me.
Okay. Now let's get into the questions. One of the reasons people move into Rio Rancho is due to its lower crime rate. Even so, the city still faces issues with crime, including theft, drugs, and even occasionally murder. How should the city work to eradicate those issues?
So we are fortunate in Rio Rancho to have one of the best police forces in my opinion, in the country, but certainly in the state. The police in the city of Rio Rancho are top-notch. I've been able to obtain their endorsement. I'm very proud of that. We've worked hand in hand with the police to make sure that we're doing everything we can to combat crime and the crime that you just described. What I've heard in talking with folks on the street is that, yes, when there is crime, they are able to contact Rio Rancho Public Safety, and they are out almost immediately. Unlike I've heard complaints, issues with APD, Albuquerque Police Department, that it can take certainly many, many minutes, if not hours, for someone to show up. I've also heard very positive things about the interaction that the citizens have with the police when they arrive. So I think that's certainly, we are aware of the issue. The police do everything in their power to minimize that impact and the negative that comes along with crime.
Okay. What type of business would you like to see moving into Rio Rancho, and how would the city work to get them here?
So we have an economic development arm of the city, and we also work closely with SEA, the Sandoval Economic Alliance. And so we're constantly reaching out and looking for businesses to move to Rio Rancho. We've been successful in the past on a number of businesses, and some of them are growing, like Define Fitness is one good example. And then we've got, I know we hear a lot about the chicken places and the car washes, and I just wanted to touch base on that. We do not reach out and solicit chicken places or car washes. When a property owner purchases a piece of property, it comes with certain property rights. And they know that going in. And so if they believe that their chicken franchise or their car wash is better than the 10 or 12 up and down the street, then they have every right to buy that property and build. Yeah. You and I can probably agree that maybe there are too many of those, but that'll be weeded out in the long term when one or more of them either goes out of business or changes their business model.
Okay. Well, that kind of leads into my next question on what the plan is to attract more diverse businesses to the city.
So again, that's our working with the SEA, Sandoval Economic Alliance, as well as our own internal economic development department. So we're constantly keeping our ears to on the table and trying to figure out, okay, who's out there looking, and how can we attract them to the city. I know one of the biggest issues that we've run into is having buildings that are ready to be occupied, and that's across the board. I would say that that's really a problem, certainly that Albuquerque has run into, and we're seeing that. That said, we have been successful to a certain degree, and we will continue to work on that. And I know our city manager, Matt Geisel, has a background in economic development. He worked for the state as a cabinet secretary in economic development. So he's constantly looking and keeping his eyes open and ears for what possible opportunities there might be out there.
Okay. And what are your thoughts on the proposed LNG facility in Rio Rancho, and how do you think it will impact the city and its residents?
So I've heard arguments on both sides of that equation. So it's been my policy from day one to hear both sides of all arguments.
Right.
Because I've heard too many times one side, and it sounds black and white. We can't accept that. That's not a allowable use, or that's not something that we want to encourage. Then I hear the argument on the other side, which is in this particular case, if we're using this LNG plant as an example, but if we have this facility, then we can alleviate problems with lack of gas service in very cold periods of time. We also can more consistently keep the price at a consistent level as opposed to fluctuations due to the demand and increase. So I guess I'd say on the surface, I'm in favor of the LNG plant, but that's not to say that I don't hear the arguments and the concerns that are on the opposite side of the equation.
Okay. And then you were part of the discussion when the city and the county has also called on the legislature to ask for more restrictions on open record laws. Some residents, including us at the Observer, have called for more transparency from the city in the past. Where do you stand on that?
I understand, again, both sides of that argument. And I will tell you in the particular case that we recently went through with regards to disclosure of information on a shooting, a horrible shooting, we took into consideration the advice of our city attorney, his understanding of the laws, and that's how the decision was made. Was it right? Was it wrong? It was the decision that was made. Clearly, we ended up having to disclose that information. Right. It was provided to the news agencies, and so I would agree, though, in general, that more openness is better than trying. Even if we're not trying to hide anything, and we purposely are not, and if we're not disclosing everything that some think we should, there's always a very good reason for it. That said, I would err on the side of let's disclose as we are required to do under the IPR requirements. Okay.
So you were also involved in the discussions last year on the call to remove the LGBTQIA themed books from the public libraries. Do you think that was handled in the appropriate manner, or is there anything you would have done differently if it came back up to the council?
So I'm assuming that you're referring to the individual or individuals that were removed from council chambers?
Yeah, just a discussion on or
just more of a broad brush.
Yeah.
So I am in no way in favor of banning books. And while those that were in the chambers that were in favor of what we've seen as banning books would describe it differently. They would describe it, and they did describe it as restricting access to some types of books and reading materials. And while I certainly understand their concern and don't disagree with it, I think that banning books in a library is a slippery slope, and I think that potentially leads to banning all books in the library. Both sides have arguments. Both sides will come to the table and say, well, if you're going to ban that book, you've heard the stories of some libraries that have banned the Bible. Is that right or wrong? I don't think banning books is the solution of any sort.
Okay. Roads, they've been a continuing issue in Rio Rancho. Do you think the city is currently taking the right approach to scheduling repairs and replacements? And what, if any, changes do you think need to be made in that process?
We have made incredible progress in fixing our roads. And I don't disagree that doesn't mean we need to continue to make progress. We have 3 different levels of road repair. We have what's called the Neighborhood Street Improvement Project, which is essentially removing 12 to 24 inches of asphalt and base course along the cracked area of a road, typically residential road, then replacing it with good base course and a good asphalt surface. That buys us time. That doesn't solve the problem, but if the road is in generally good condition except for the crack, we can buy time. And we've made very good progress there. We've done over 100 miles of road that way, and we continue on an annual basis doing that work where it's applicable. 2 years ago, we started another process that is mill and inlay or overlay, which is actually taking a road that's too far gone to do or use the crack patching solution. It grinds the asphalt surface. It uses that ground material and mixes it with other materials to overlay and place on the surface of the road, essentially making what looks like a brand new road and what feels like a brand new road.
Right.
It's a new process, so we'll see how well that works. But right now, our initial thought is it's working very, very well. The third process then is complete reconstruction of the road, which is a very costly way to go about it. But in some cases, it's the only solution. In today's dollars, it's about $1.5 million a mile to do that process. And that doesn't include the underground utilities, which then it makes no sense to tear up a road and put down new asphalt over utilities that are likely to break or very possibly could. So we are making progress. We will continue to do so. We've got a strategy. And so I would answer, yep, we've got work to be done. No doubt about it. But we are making progress.
Okay. And then, in recent months, we've had a couple of tragic accidents where pedestrians were killed, and bringing that concern to the forefront for some people. What steps can be taken by the city to improve pedestrian safety? So
the issue with regards to where crosswalks can go, what lighting needs to be in place, is highly dictated by practices, engineering, industry standard engineering practices and requirements. And the city is required to follow those. That doesn't try to make light of those pedestrian accidents and deaths. That's not at all the case. But we've got to make sure that we aren't randomly putting in place solutions or improvements that can't be justified because it may cause another problem down the road that has been determined and has been described and is the reason the ordinances and the practices are in place.
Okay. One of the candidates came to us and stated that this is one of the most important elections Rio Rancho has ever had. Do you agree with that statement? And what are your thoughts behind it?
I agree with that statement in the sense that in my mind, we are a city in very good shape. We've got the best financial situation we've ever had in the city. We've done a lot of very good things over the past 4 years, and so to change for change's sake makes no sense. I agree with the logic that let's get new blood in there. That makes perfect sense if there's something that needs to be changed. If there is something that needs to be changed, then let's talk about it and let's work together to fix it. I think that we are headed in a very good direction with the city. Again, financially, we're in great shape. We've done some very good things that I want to continue doing over the next 4 years if reelected. We've got quality of life projects booked in the queue. Mm-hmm. We've got the permanent fund, which is already generating money that is not that's no money out of the taxpayer's pocket, if you will. Mm-hmm. It's already generated about $1 million in income for the city. We've got, like I said earlier, the best police and fire department in the city. We've got all the good things going for us. Let's keep it going that way.
Okay. What are the biggest challenges currently facing Rio Rancho, and how do we work to address that?
I know that there's been a lot of discussion on more of the homeless population coming up into the city, and it is an issue. We don't have we don't provide the service or the level of services that the city of Albuquerque does. We do, of course, take care of the homeless, and we by all means are not going to kick them out or arrest them or tell them to go away. But when they come up, we try our best to have them move on, continue to not try to occupy a park or a sidewalk or another area of public so that the public's restricted. And we, good or bad, right or wrong, we don't have any overnight facilities for the homeless in Rio Rancho, nor do we have the budget to do that. So we will continue to deal with it. Mm-hmm. We continue to know it's out there, and I encourage all of the folks in Rio Rancho who see it occurring, let your counselor know, let the police know, just so we can keep an eye on these folks and see if they need additional help. We can point them in the direction for that help. Mm-hmm. And provide them direction to where they can maybe find food if that's what they're in need of. So that's certainly one of the issues that we've seen and that has been brought to our attention of late.
Okay. And you kind of spoke to this quite a bit in a previous question, but I'll ask if you want to expand on it. Do you think the city's moving in the right direction, and why?
Absolutely. And as I said previously, we are in a good place, and we are doing things right. And the makeup of the council now is top notch. We work well together. We don't always agree, but in general, we work very well together. We know what the goal of the city is and the direction that it is headed in. We work well with city staff. We come up with a plan based on either their recommendation or a want of some of the constituents that I speak to on a regular basis. And we can work through the details and figure out if we've got the budget for it and how we make that happen.
Okay. And then is there anything else that we haven't touched on yet that you want to comment on?
No, I think that's in general kind of my platform, the reason I'm running for re-election. I think that to change again for change's sake is not the right reason. Mm-hmm. To change because we need new blood on the council would make sense if we had issues to deal with, which I don't believe we do. And so I think I just want to keep the city moving positively forward with the makeup of the council that we've got now.
Okay. Well, I don't have anything else for you at this moment, but I just want to thank you for coming in and spending this time talking with us and reaching the Observer readers in this new platform that we have available. And thanks again for coming in.
Well, thank you very much for the invite. Much appreciated. I'm always willing to speak with the Observer. You guys are good people.
We do our best.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Paul Wymer, and I'm running for City Council for District 4 in Rio Rancho. For those of you who are unfamiliar with where District 4 is, it is essentially north of Southern. It is east of Unser. It is bordered on the north by the Montoyas Arroyo and Idalia to a certain degree, and then 528, although it does include a portion of Corrales Heights. I've been the city councilor for the last 4 years, a big chunk of which was covered by the COVID the COVID pandemic, and so I didn't get out much during that time. I was sequestered like the rest of you, but I'm out and about now, and I think our city is in a fantastic place. We have the city's in the best financial condition it's ever been, and that's primarily due to the what we've done on the council, the oversight that we've seen on the council. We've got a fantastic financial staff that continues to receive award-winning and flawless audits, and so we need to continue that work. We've got a fantastic fire and police department. We've got top-notch schools. We're working on quality of life projects. Things are working. Things are humming. Let's keep it going that way. I'd like to request your vote for District 4 for myself, so I can continue the work for you, the constituents of Rio Rancho. Thank you very much.
Rio Rancho municipal elections are slated for 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. March 5 at a variety of locations in Rio Rancho. Residents can vote at any polling location no matter their address. Voting centers will be at Broadmoor Senior Center Clerks Annex, Plaza at Unser Marketplace, Loma Colorado Library, Rio Rancho MVD on Sabana Grande Avenue, the Hub at Enchanted Hills, Rio West Business Center, Cabazon Community Center, Rio Rancho Middle School, Cielo Azul Elementary School, Puesta del Sol Elementary School, Lincoln Middle School, and Colinas del Norte Elementary School. Early voting kicks off February 6 at Broadmoor Senior Center Clerks Annex with hours of 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday through March 2. Saturday voting kicks off February 17 with hours of 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Additional locations will open for early voting February 17 at Plaza at Unser Marketplace, Loma Colorado Library, Rio Rancho MVD on Sabana Grande Avenue, the Hub at Enchanted Hills, and Rio West Business Center. Absentee voting begins February 6. Voters may cast an absentee ballot by submitting an application to the city clerk's office no later than February 20. Ballots must be returned to the city clerk's office no later than 7 p.m. on Election Day, March 5.